Hello TTI students and welcome to another week of TTI Tech. For this week, we're going to be finishing up the tic-tac-toe activity that we started last time, and we're going to be talking about forms in Sheets. The next week's activity will be a quiz in Google Sheets, and the week after that will be a quiz in Microsoft Excel. And we'll get some more explanation on the differences between the two for next week, along with your quiz. So you'll get some content and you'll get your first quiz. All right, so let's dive into how forms work. All right, so what I'm going to do right now, just to show you the overall view of how forms work, is create a new Google Sheets document. And as you can see, when you create a new Google Sheets document, you don't automatically have forms there. You actually have to create a form first. So you see the difference there. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Tools, Create a Form. And then it will pull up the form in the next column there, and we'll see how the form works. All right, so first you have your question. So let's say, how old are you? You can change the choice there. You can do multiple choice, short answer, check boxes. I'm going to do short answer. All right. And once I'm done, I can go back. All right. So now I have my form, and on my sheet, it'll show me the link to the form. All right. So now I can go to live form, and let's say I can put my age here at the time of recording this video. And on my sheet, there's a part towards the bottom that shows the different responses that I've gotten to my form. So here we have a timestamp, which will tell us what time that form entry was entered. And we also have an area for the responses. And each one of these columns going down is going to show a response. And these are what are called frozen columns, and they're automatically generated with the form. To get to frozen columns, I can go back to my sheets. Let's say I wanted to freeze this row. I can go to Format, View, and I can freeze one row. And that's how to get that formatting there. All right. So yeah, with forms, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is you can edit the form, send the form to a group of people. In order to actually add an entry, you just have to go to the live form. All right. So that's forms in a nutshell. So I'm going to explain kind of what I did with the form. I've still been experimenting with this. This is part of the reason why this assignment's been a little bit delayed here. But I've been trying to create a game that would actually sample from the form and allow you to play the game from the form. I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I'll explain my thinking on it just so that you all have a grasp on how to get there. And while I'm doing that, I'll also explain a little bit more about Google Sheets and how it works and how to really manipulate formulas to work best for you. All right. So over here I have my cells. We have this equal len. It's the length of this C6. So everything that's in C6 here. Okay. So let's say I'm looking at this formula here, and I want to know what each one of these little pieces do. I can click on this question mark, and I can click on the specific instruction that I want to look at the definition for. It'll actually pull up more information on how to use each one of those methods here. So for substitute, it's showing me that I can include the text to search, so that's whatever cell I'm looking at. I can include the replacement text, which is the O here. Or sorry, I can look at the text to search here, and then what to search for is O, and then I'm going to replace that O with a space, right? And then what I'm actually going to return is the occurrence number. So you don't always have to have an occurrence number here. In my case, I don't. So that's another thing that's in addition with sheets. For certain formulas, they'll have things in these square quotes, which means you don't necessarily need it, but you can use it, okay? So it says it will replace the existing text with new text in a string. So what is this actually doing? This formula is taking the length of my cell here, and I'm actually going to be subtracting the length of the cell without that character in there. So let's say I had a cell that said the word color. I'm going to go down. All right, so let's say I had the word color in this cell here instead of this formula here, and I'll explain that formula in just a second. So what this does is this is going to take the word minus the word without these letters. So color minus CLR equals 2, and that's how I get it. Make sense? All right, moving on. So that's really how you break down these formulas. You can double click to bring up the formula, click on each one of those parts to figure out what they do. Len just takes the length of the string, okay? So what happened up here? What did I do up here? So this was me actually trying to grab the form response. So I can show you how I break this down. All right, so I click on the if statement here. So I have an if statement, and how if statements work is you have if you have an expression. So let's say, I'm just going to use an example. If I'm going to the mall, I need a car, right? So it's if, and then you have your resolution, whatever is the end of that statement. If blank, then blank, right? So we have if blank, then we have the value if true, and we also get to specify what happens when that doesn't happen. So let's say if I don't need to go to the mall, I can watch TV, right? So that else statement is the false statement. So what are we doing here? So I have if, and I have a whole bunch of stuff in here. So I have an and this is where things get different between Sheets and Excel. And in Sheets work this way. It's and you have each expression, and you just have a comma in between them. In Excel, and works a little bit differently, and we'll talk about that when we get to the Excel part of the unit. Okay? So then we have is sir. We have search. And what we're looking for is a very specific piece of text here. So we're looking for one area to have X, and we're looking for the other area to have the word left. So what I did is I searched these two columns here for any time the instance of X and left is found. And when that happens, it changes this column to X. Make sense? So I'll backtrack a little bit because I didn't actually show you what my form looked like. So I'm going to go to the live form just to show you. So I have X or O. So you select which character you're going to use. And then I have all of the positions that you would have on the board. So you have top left, top middle, top right, and so on and so forth. So essentially the way that I'm mapping it will be, it's going to search for any time you're at the top and you entered in left, right? And you have an X here, and it's going to put an X in this area, okay? Now, for the O case, I would have to add an additional and, right? And anytime it finds, or actually I would have to add an or statement, that would actually say, if this or this happens, do this. And so it continues to get more complex as you go, as you can see. And this is why, I didn't end up actually making the game work this way is because it does become a big jumble of formulas. And as much as I would like to make you all work more, I'd rather just explain it so that you see kind of how it works. Okay? So let's look at our winning statements here once again and analyze them just using our analytical skills that we've learned here. So we have an if statement here, and we have an or statement, and ors work the same way ands do. You have or, and then your expression, and your second expression. So either this or that, right? So or, we have the sum of, or the sum of h6 through h8, or the sum of I6 through I8, and all of these are the X cells winning, then X wins. All right? So then we have another OR here, and this is for O winning, and I have all of the different variations here, and I also have the diagonals, or the diagonal statement in there that I showed you all last time as well. Okay? And all of these are sum, so the way sum works is you can have multiple, there's many ways you can enter in sum. You can do values separated by commas, or they have an example here where you can actually do a range, and that is separated by a semicolon, okay? And remember, all of these things, if you need to take notes on them, please rewind the video, take some notes, because next week we will be quizzed on them. I may not go directly into what individual formulas do, but I may ask you something like, what is a range? How does a range work, okay? All right, so that's basically how formulas work and interact within Google Sheets. And then I also went over just some general form practices and how to use forms and how to get clever with forms. They're really open to your interpretation of them. So, with that being said, you have your tic-tac-toe board, okay? What I want you to do for this next week is attach a form to that sheet. You can use my form if you would like to do something similar and see if you can figure out how to make the game interact with that. Or you can just do a different form, let's say a form for player names, and then you can kind of sample and just say this will equal this column, and that's it. And you can have each player's name just be kind of sampled there. Make sense? And I didn't really explain how this works. So with Google Sheets, another thing that you can do is you have multiple sheets within your document. You can sample between those sheets. So whenever you put an equal sign or whenever you have a formula, so I can do equal sum here to add. Whenever I have this value, I can click anywhere within my document here to get that value. But I can also click within other parts of the document and it'll show me, hey, I'm referencing this sheet here, but I can grab the value from this other sheet. And then I can go back and that value is still there, right? So that's kind of how I've been able to have my sheets interrelating between each other. Okay. For this week, like I said, the assignment is to create a form. You can do just a basic form with the name of each player and what letter they're using, X or O, or you can see if you can figure out how to actually make a form that will interact with your board. I will be giving extra credit points for anyone who figures it out. So feel free to wow me if you can actually get to that point. If not, like I said, just create a form, and then when you're done with that, make sure to post the form link into the discussion that I'll be creating. I'll be creating a discussion, and each one of you can post the link to your form. Now, to get that link, you can go to send form. And you can click on the link button here. And it'll give you a link to that form, and you can copy that and paste it. So you'll go to Learn at UW, open up the course, and you'll go to discussions, and I'll have a discussion there that says tic-tac-toe form. And you're going to post that form link into there. And that way I can grade it on Learn at UW. All right. So that wraps everything up for this week. Have an amazing week, and I will see you next time.